All right, peace and blessings, and welcome to another episode of Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast, YB's Collaboration Corner. I am your host, Rob YB Youngblood, President of Sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days, and your LinkedIn locksmith. I am so excited today because I have a phenomenal guest, and I know you hear me say that all the time whenever I bring people onto the podcast, but this one is actually a next level guest, and Brian Olds is a friend of mine. I've known him for a number of years as a result of a collaboration and a connection that I made with my best friend, Marshall Fox. And we'll get into that story in a moment, but I'm going to give Brian an opportunity to share a little bit about himself. But I'll tell you the reason why I invited Brian onto the show is because Brian is the ultimate collaborator, right? Brian understands the value of collaborations. Everything that he does allows for other people to win. And in essence, when he does that, other people win as well. So Brian, welcome to the Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast, YB's Collaboration Corner. How you doing today, my brother?
Happy to be in the corner, YB. What's going on, man? Look, I am super happy to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation. And yeah, man, I'm the skinny kid from Baltimore, and I don't think I know I wouldn't make it here without the opportunity to work with and collaborate with so many people. And you are high on that list, brother. So super excited about this conversation, and looking forward to it.
Well, listen, I'm excited about you, man. So real quick, tell the people who you are, because obviously I could have asked for you to give me your bio, but I think it doesn't do any justice unless somebody can share from their heart who they are, what they do, and why they do what they do. So if you don't mind, just introduce yourself real quick to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So again, Brian J. Olds, J is for James, and YB, we were talking about names earlier, so I like to keep that in there. But listen, I'm the founder and president of an organization called Black Speakers Network. We are a global speaker development and empowerment company with a global reach of many thousands of current and aspiring professional speakers. And our mission is to equip, connect, and inspire the next generation of Black professional speakers. So this is a company I started in 2016. At the time, I was still working a full-time job. And though I'm a millennial, I actually had a little bit of an untraditional path. Like most folks in my age range, pretty much changed job on average every 18 to 24 months, certainly no more than 3 to 4 years. I actually stayed in the same job for 11 years. And the reason behind that actually is tied to why I started Black Speakers Network, because growing up, man, as a little kid, I really had no idea what business is to this day. I'm a first generation entrepreneur. And so my goal wasn't to be an entrepreneur or run a community or anything like that. I wanted to be an engineer. Dude, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, actually. And so, growing up watching like the NASA space shuttle launches, I was like, man, I want to do that. And, I was like, Mom, can I go to space camp? She's like, boy, you can't afford no space camp. You better go outside and pretend. And so that's what I did, and I was in my room, taking apart like televisions and VCRs, not putting them back together, but taking them apart. And that was my kind of foray into engineering. And I kind of made it all the way up into college, got accepted into Morgan State University. YB, I know how you feel about HBCUs. And so if you're HBCU out here listening, definitely show some love. Super excited to be there. One of the top Black engineering schools in the country. And I was super excited to get accepted, but lo and behold, man, we had a little class waiting for me called Calculus 2. And I don't know if you had to take any of those higher level math classes.
Yep, I
kind of
did.
Hard. You did? Yeah, they're kind of hard to escape. And in my particular case, I remember taking the test, and halfway through the semester, I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I feel like I looked out the window, just like looking for inspiration, and out the window is like, it was kind of like an epiphany. I was like, God, if you can just give me the answer to this test. And I saw the clouds part, and it was like the answer to the test was out of the window, and it was written on the side of the building. And the building was the Earl G. Graves School of Business and Management. And so I put the test down, dropped out of engineering school, signed up for business. Again, having no idea what business is, but seemingly a little bit of a better path than engineering. I went ahead and did that, and that kind of led me to another organization called Toastmasters, which was started in the School of Business at Morgan State University, and that was my first foray into speaking. And so we can kind of get into that if we want to, but generally speaking, that was the thread. And what I always tell people is that, obviously, where you start doesn't matter where you end. And, a lot of times we can have, dreams, ambitions, and things like that, and you may not land exactly where you thought. But when I actually dissected that dream, Rob, I was like, okay, why did I want to be an engineer? Like, what did I really want to do? And I don't think it was to, build circuitry and to be the person that is kind of, working in a factory or actually doing the engineering of it. I think I just really, man, wanted to be a part of something big, and there's not too many things bigger than sending people into space, but there's a lot of work to be done, like right here on Earth. And so now I'm not an engineer of technology, but I feel like I'm an engineer of people. And when it comes to this topic, and the reason I'm so excited to be here, when it comes to building connections, I think that is literally the rocket fuel to be able to power people's dreams.
Man, listen. For those of you who are listening, if you can't tell that this brother is a professional speaker, you just give me all your money, okay? Just give me all your money, right? I got a bridge in India to sell you. You know what I'm saying? I think they got bridges in India, but either way.
Absolutely.
But I'm so impressed with your story, Brian. I didn't know that you actually, transition out of engineering, because our story is very similar. I started out as a math major at Virginia Union. So when you start talking about Cal 2, I understood, because I almost pulled my hair out for discrete mathematics, bro. And I said, well, wait a minute, where are the numbers at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we moved away from numbers, and I took physics, and just like you, I transitioned to the Sidney Lewis School of Business. And that's when, doing some internships with Inroads and things of that nature, man. So I love your story. Let's talk a little bit about,
I went through Inroads too.
See, that's another thing we got in common, because we got some business organizations that we're connected to. We got some common food. I gotta go there. So I was gonna get into the collaboration piece, but you and I had an opportunity to interview you. You had me on your podcast, so shout out to you and the Black Speakers Network podcast. You can catch episode 14. That's a little shameless plug. You can hear how the fire alarm went off. It was so hot. But
real story.
One of the things that I love about our connection, Brian, is the fact that it came together seamlessly. Can you talk a little bit about that, and talk about what makes a powerful collaboration? Like, talk about how we connected, but then talk about how do you see collaborations coming together? Like, what makes them work for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you alluded to it earlier that we connected through a mutual friend, Marshall Fox. He wasn't just a mutual friend, but also a mutual partner. And I think a lot of times when you are scanning the environment, you try to figure out, okay, who are the individuals that I'm going to roll with? It's kind of hard to look at somebody's surface level and say, oh, I want to connect with this person. You can do that. But I think some of the best places to start is the people that you're already connected to, because, if I'm connected to Marshall, which Marshall and I met actually in college as well at Baltimore City Community College. And then, he disappeared for like 10 years. And then I reconnected with him, seeing that he was now in my space of working with speakers, authors, and coaches. It's like, okay, naturally, there's going to be some people in your sphere of influence that make a lot of sense to be in my sphere of influence. And so I believe in the power of collaboration and the power of connection in a very organic way. Like, I think sometimes and actually, this is true because, within BSN, we basically provide three things. We provide training, we provide resources, and we provide access to opportunity. And so when I first started the organization, I was like, okay, I am very passionate about creating this community where speakers can grow, but I'm not going to be the be all end all teacher of speaking. Like, I got in paid speaking engagements. I hired speakers. I was working as a full-time professional trainer, but there's so many aspects to this thing, and it would be ridiculous and pretty arrogant to try to, learn all of that and then do it or try to teach something I haven't done.
Right.
And so when it comes to collaborations, I think at the end of the day, one of the things I recognize right away is that, partnerships weren't just like a nice to have.
Mhm.
They were essentially critical to the effective operation of the vision as I was looking at it. And so being able to find people who are really, really great at doing other stuff, not only that I can't do, but frankly, I don't want to do.
Don't want to
Like,
do. Yeah, you don't want
we
to do.
got
Yep.
yeah, we got partners who build websites, that photography, videography, web services, social media design. We have partners who will put on amazing events and provide all sorts of training. Like, I mean, I touch a little bit of that, but I don't want to do it. And so
Right.
at the end of the day, I think the main takeaway is, whatever space you're in, like I don't care if you're running a barbershop or you're trying to build like, a multi-year conference platform, whatever you're doing, you need to seek out people who are operating in areas that would be complementary to your audience, but not something that you're going to take on the time and expense of actually deploying yourself so that you could stay focused on the things that only you can do. And that's what happened with us. We met at the PNC conference, and with Marshall's introduction, not only did it come from a place where I know that if I'm getting a strategic introduction from somebody I already work really well with and have a high level of respect from, that's probably going to be ease a degree of mutual value. And that's exactly what this was.
Yeah, no, I like that. So let's dig a little deeper on that. Let's get a little technical. So when it comes to collaborating, you mentioned, identifying people who have some talents, some gifts that may complement what you're looking for. They may be able to do some things that you may not even want to do at all. But what are the steps when it comes to you collaborating? Like, do you just say, "Hey, we're going to connect, we're going to collaborate. I like what you do," or do you have a process to determine if this collaboration is going to be a successful one? Like, do you have a process?
Absolutely. So I didn't at first, but now I do, and it continues to evolve. I will say that just as a disclaimer, some of the best collaborations that I've entered into have been situations where people have come to me versus me seeking out other people. And I think there's a couple of reasons psychologically for that, but in general, you can't make somebody work with you. And I think there's certain seasons for different things. And so in essence, when people are coming to me, and so I kind of equate it to, you could as it comes to kind of building your network, you could be a hunter or you could be like a magnet. A hunter, you're going out, you got your spear and you're going out and getting what you want. You might actually get it and it might be fine. But typically hunting, takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of effort. You got to have certain specialized equipment. You might miss or whatever. So hunting is very active versus being a magnet. You are creating something of value, and then whatever enters into that magnetic field is going to be attracted as long as it's made up of the right properties. And so, in my particular case, the magnet of creating a platform like Black Speakers Network and creating a doorway where people are like, oh, wow, you have all of these people that, probably correspond to my target market as well. Let's figure out how we could work together. That automatically creates a positioning that's a little bit more healthy. And now it can allow me to put in place the process that we're about to get into. So just to put that up front. But once people are in that process, here's what happens. Mm-hmm. So typically, people want to partner. I immediately am looking at a couple things. Number one, what is your capability? And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, YB. There are people that have the ability to do amazing things, but have you ever met somebody that was like brilliant at so many things. It seemed like they really couldn't get any one thing done. It was kind of like, it's like, bro, I sell shoes, like I build websites, I create flyers, I do books. Like, I'm like, which one do you do? So I really like working with people who have a sense of clarity around who they are, what they do, and they got receipts. And so even as we're onboarding, partners for BSN, one of the main things I'm looking at is, proof of performance. I'm looking at, their clarity. I'm looking for alignment because a lot of times what happens also is that we get out people that reach out to us all the time and say, hey, I can do this, but doing this thing may look a little bit different when you're working with information experts, speakers, and authors versus working with manufacturing firms or working with kind of more traditional sales and stuff like that. And so really trying to find people who not only have the knowledge, but can display a level of empathy for the journey that our customers are facing is really important. And so those are the type of things that I'm kind of screening for. And even then, once we get to a place where it's like, okay, boom, YB, man, I really would love to work with you. I'm not turning over the keys to the castle right away. Like you're going to go through like a test. And so with BSN, we have a really cool mechanism to do that because we have programming every single week called a speaker development class. And so if somebody really wants to work with us, then I'm like, hey, one of the easiest lowest hanging fruits is to put them on that particular platform. It's a minimum investment of energy, but if it resonates really well, then we can take things to the next level. And so there's a sequence in doing that. And I would say over the years, man, out of the dozens of partners that we've had, I've only had really 3 that have been kind of suspended from our partnership, or we've had to cut ties. And lessons were learned from that as well. But I think in general, kind of following that process has really protected us from, wasting a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, listen, you're listening to Brian J. Olds, Black Speakers Network. This brother is thorough. He is articulate, and he is someone who you want to connect with. Let's talk a little bit about some of the projects you have going on, and who are you specifically looking to collaborate with? And I know the answer to this, but the folks that are listening, this may be their very first time hearing you speak. So let's talk a little bit about who do you want to collaborate with when it comes to projects that you're currently working on?
Yeah, well, I say the biggest thing is number one are our customers and i.e. members. And so that's how I really kind of look at it. Like BSN, Black Speakers Network, operates more of a professional association than a traditional company. And like any professional association, you're going to have members, and a lot of our members are also partners. And so it kind of goes both ways. I mentioned earlier that our goal is to provide training, resources, and opportunity. Let's talk about opportunity for a moment, because most of the time when people are looking for speaking opportunities, they come to Black Speakers Network and they're trying to get on different stages. And so there are some stages that are really, really challenging to get on. We send out what we call speaker opportunity alerts, and these are to national conferences, seminars, independently organized events, trade shows. Some of these events may have 6, 12, and sometimes 18-month decision cycles. They have all types of processes to get on, and it's not to say you can't do it, but it could be a longer journey versus somebody who's hosting like if me and you, YB, just as BSN people are putting together like our own experience, we can book like 12 or 15 speakers and have equal results, as long as you have something to do on the back end. And so a lot of times when it comes to creating opportunities, looking inside is the easiest way. And so that's the reason why we have the BSN podcast directory. That's the reason why we have a presence on platforms like Clubhouse to be able to create more stages, not to go externally, but to kind of mine the thought leadership, the creativity, and the capacity that we have within across 14,000 people.
Mhm.
Like, I wish I could tell you the number of podcasts, the number of, folks have their own kind of internet streaming shows now on platforms like Roku, Apple TV. They have their own IG Live, LinkedIn Live shows, so things like that where we could consolidate resource. And that's really my area of, I feel like my expertise now. It's building systems and building capacity. And a big part of building capacity isn't always creating something new. Like, I don't need to be working on a new app or creating like a new campaign. What I need to do, for me, the biggest use of my talents is leveraging what's already out there and just organizing in a way that people can get value from it. And so that's a big piece of that. Another avenue I think is that category of people that I'm always looking to work with are, of course, individuals who have services that speakers really need. And that includes training. And so even with us, we talk about the 5 M's all the time within BSN. And so our methodology for teaching and speaking business is helping you get clear on your mission, your message, your marketing, how to monetize, and how to manage your speaking business.
Mhm.
So within those 5 M's, Rob, as you know, there are thousands of topics.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from, navigating, each social media platform just alone, like LinkedIn itself has thousands of topics underneath that, depending on what you're trying to use it for. And so if you're a thought leader, if you're an information expert, and you're someone who can help people get results, as an information expert, as a speaker, as an author, as a coach, as a consultant, if you run membership sites, if you put together podcasts, if you're a producer, if you do music, like, I don't think there's a limit to the talent and the capability of people that we're willing to work with. There's only a limit to the people who are kind of at the place where they're ready to run.
Yeah, I like that, man. And as we land the plane, the most important thing that I want to see, in terms of our relationship is creating those outlets for more speakers to get connected, right? Because there's a lot of folks who they're out there on their own and they don't have a community to be a part of. And so what Black Speakers Network has done specifically for me is given me a place where I can be me, right? And what that means is to add value, right? So I appreciate the partnership that you've created. I know we have a partnership, but we were also on a major project a couple years ago. Talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we are a self-publishing company, so we can't let you go without talking about a book that you've done. Let's talk a little bit about Speak Up. And why was that a project that you chose to put together?
Yeah, so and I'm so excited that we get a chance to talk about that. And it was an honor being able to partner with you on that, YB. And that was the reason why I was able to come to Richmond and sit outside at, cookout at 12 at midnight and share war stories around business. I think products, events, services, like however you're designing a business, the cool part is you get to put your thumbprint on it and build it out any way that you want. One of the things I recognized right away as I was building Black Speakers Network is that in the speaking industry, books have the ability to do one very powerful thing, and that's create authority. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody is looking for something on a specific topic, it doesn't really matter what it is. There's a reason why the phrase he or she wrote the book on that is a phrase. Like, if you wrote the book on it, it means that you have a level of expertise that you're able to bring to the table. And so for us, it really wasn't about positioning me or any one particular person. There are 35 individual authors that came together to put that project together, and it's bookended by two of the legends in our industry. You got Les Brown and Dr. George Frazier doing the foreword and the afterword, respectively. This was meant to be it was a branding play for BSN. It was meant to show authority that not only we're not a cute Facebook community, we are a place where we are bringing together the predominant Black experts and emerging experts, which I'm also passionate about. You don't always have to be like the top of the field. Like you have a lot of people that have done it and they did it 30 years ago. And then you have a lot of people who did it yesterday. Like they made their first 10K per month yesterday. They made their first $100,000 year last year. And now they're working on getting to that next phase. Like sometimes I love hearing from those people more than the people that did it 30 years ago. No disrespect to anybody that did it 30 years ago, but it's like, I think you need a balance. And so that's what Speak Up was there for, and to introduce, our model, our way, the BSN way of building the speaking business, which is the 5 M's. So anybody that comes into our ecosystem, the very first thing that we do now is say, hey, here's your first textbook, Speak Up. And you can go to whatever chapter that works the best for you based on what you're working on.
I love it, man. This has been such a valuable experience, Brian. I want to say thank you for investing time to just share and talk a little bit about the power of collaboration. I want to do a quick lightning round and then we'll wrap up, man. So when you think about a place, if you had the opportunity, and I know you're a world traveler, you're becoming a world traveler, so I think this fits your style. But if you had the opportunity to write a book, any place in the world, so if you could travel any place in the world and write your next best-selling book, where would you go?
The place where I write the book?
Well, I'm saying like the location. Like, so for example, like if you might want to go to Dubai or, Casablanca, or, you know what I'm saying? or Japan or whatever, like where would you go? So let me help you out. I had a young lady tell me she would want to sit in the Caribbean, right? With the water right beneath her, like glass, and she was very descriptive, man. I was like, man, that's crazy. So where would you want to write if you had the opportunity to travel anywhere in the world? Where would you travel to write your next best-selling book?
Well, I actually might end up doing this, but I think it's so I would pick Bali. I haven't been there yet. Bali's in Indonesia, if I'm correct. But yes, I think I was scheduled to go to Bali right before. It was my last trip that I had scheduled right before the pandemic, and it was canceled a week before they did the whole like shutdown and stuff like that.
Right.
But I choose Bali because I challenge you to find a picture of Bali that doesn't look like a postcard. And I think that the fastest way to change your mindset is to actually change your environment. I know a lot of people who have written books by checking into a hotel in a different city, shutting off their cell phone for 72 hours and just like knocking it out. You do that 4 times a year, like you're cranking out some content. So, but the changing your physical environment is so important. That is the reason why I have this mission to see 50% of the world by the age of 50. I think that being immersed in another culture, and a place like Bali, especially, that has so much emphasis on, first of all, it's geographically cut off from most of the Western world. Like it takes forever to get there. And so it's not going to be like, I can get a lot written just on a plane right there. But in addition to that, being immersed in an environment that is very focused on, energy, positivity, beautiful scenery, food, just amazing. And I think it doesn't matter what time of year you go, like it's always going to be beautiful. 365 days a year or so. I would choose Bali.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So Brian, as we wrap up, tell everybody, how can they find you? How can they learn more about Black Speakers Network? So let them know how they can find you personally if they want to possibly collaborate or get some information on how you can help them, and how can they learn more about Black Speakers Network?
Yeah, so I mean, I say this jokingly on interviews, but I mean, you could literally just Google me, like Brian J. Oles, like, and I think everybody should be at this moment, like, you should be in a place where people can just Google you. Yeah. And if you can't, that's a problem, So Brian J. Oles, there's a lot of Brian Oles. That's why I keep the J. You taught me the value of branding through your name, YB. So, if you Google Brian J. Oles right now, just go do it. Click on one of them links, you're going to find my Twitter, you're going to find my Instagram, you're going to find my Facebook. I would be remiss if I didn't mention LinkedIn, because you've helped me kind of elevate that. So LinkedIn is obviously going to be kind of, and I do see LinkedIn as my professional home online. I secure more business. I can make more connections through LinkedIn than my own personal website. So, you could Google me, you can go to LinkedIn, and then obviously if you're interested in Black Speakers Network, same thing. You Google Black Speakers Network, you will find our website, blackspeakersnetwork.com. You'll find our Facebook group, which is free. So I encourage you to come follow us there and join the conversation.
Well, listen, you have had the best of the best. Brian J. Olds. We got to make sure we put that J in there because there's a million Brian Olds in there. And oddly enough, if you went on LinkedIn and typed in Robert Youngblood, you see a million Robert Youngbloods too. So that's why we make it Rob YB Youngblood. But you've been listening to the Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast, YB's Collaboration Corner with Brian J. Olds. And listen, replay this over and over because I'm sure you'll catch some gems. And make sure you Google Brian J. Olds, Google Black Speakers Network. Hey, Google Speak Up, the ultimate guide to dominate in the speaking industry so that you can level up. And remember, yeah, you see that in the background for those of you who are watching the video. But remember, the whole purpose of this podcast is to enhance your confidence, clarity, and connections when it comes to creating cash flow in your lane. And so, we want you to be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, share the faith. And the way that you do that is by operating your gift, because your gift will make room for you. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.